A toxic boss will quietly dismantle you, not all at once, but slowly, steadily, over time. They chip away at your confidence, your drive, and your sense of self worth until you barely recognize the person you were when you first took that job. And the cruel part? Most people think the only way out is to quit. But what if quitting isn't an option right now? What if you've got bills, a lease, a family depending on that paycheck? Stay with me because I'm going to show you 3 ways to take back control of your situation and actually use that toxic boss to your advantage. Welcome back. I'm Dre, and on this channel, we get into the real mechanics of how the workplace actually operates so you can stop playing defense and start building the kind of career that works for you. If that's what you're here for, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Now let's get into it. Before I give you the 3 things, I need to talk about something that most people skip, and it's the reason so many professionals stay stuck for way too long. They know they have a bad boss. They feel it every single morning when the alarm goes off. But instead of taking action, they wait. They tell themselves it'll get better on its own. They convince themselves that if they just keep their head down and do good work, eventually someone higher up will notice what's going on and fix it. I understand that thinking. I've been there. But here's what actually happens when you wait. The problem doesn't get better. It compounds. Your boss keeps doing what they've always done because nothing in their environment is telling them to stop. And while that's happening, your tolerance for bad treatment keeps rising. You start accepting things you never would have accepted on day one because your new baseline has shifted. That's when the real damage kicks in. It starts spilling outside the office. You're irritable at home. You're distracted on weekends. You're lying awake, running through conversations in your head, rehearsing what you should have said. And it doesn't stop there. Because once a bad boss shakes your confidence, it starts messing with your professional judgment too. You start second-guessing decisions you would have made without hesitation 6 months ago. You start wondering whether you're actually good at this, whether this career is even right for you, whether maybe you just don't have what it takes. Let me be direct with you. That spiral is not a reflection of your abilities. It's a symptom of a broken working environment. And then there's one more layer that almost nobody talks about. When you work under someone toxic long enough, their habits start becoming your habits. Not because you want them to, not because you're careless, but because we absorb the culture we're immersed in. The way your boss communicates, the way they handle conflict, the way they treat people when they're under pressure, all of it slowly becomes your default setting. And by the time you move on to the next role, you're carrying those patterns with you without even realizing it. I've watched it happen to people who are genuinely talented, and I've caught myself doing it too. I remember a point in my own career where I'd been working under difficult leadership for so long that some of those behaviors had just become normal to me. I thought the way my environment operated was just how professional environments worked. It wasn't until I got into a healthier dynamic and someone I respected pulled me aside and flagged some of what I was doing that I realized how much of it I had absorbed. The habits that form in toxic environments are subtle. They don't show up as obvious red flags. They show up as a slightly defensive posture in meetings, a tendency to withhold information as a form of self-protection, a reluctance to give someone else credit because you've been in environments where credit was a scarce resource that got stolen. These are the things that follow you. And the longer you stay without intentionally pushing back against them, the harder they are to unlearn later. So what do? You stop waiting and you start executing. Here are the 3 things. Number 1, use your toxic boss as fuel. I don't mean use them as a reason to spiral or vent. I mean, use them as a concrete daily reminder of why you are building something better. Because here's what I want you to understand about bad managers. They don't change. And I know that's harsh, but I need you to hear it. Most people waste months, sometimes years, waiting for a toxic boss to have some kind of awakening. They think if they prove themselves enough, if they have the right conversation, if they just hang in there a little longer, eventually this person will turn around. That almost never happens. The behavior you're seeing is not a bad stretch. It's who they are. So instead of waiting for change that isn't coming, shift your energy. Every frustrating interaction you have with this person becomes a point on the scoreboard, a reason to go home and work on your skills, a reason to update your portfolio, a reason to reach out to someone in your network, a reason to research the next role or the next company. Let their bad behavior fund your exit strategy. And if you're in any kind of leadership position yourself, there's another layer to this. Every bad manager you've ever had is actually a masterclass in what not to do. Most leadership training is abstract. This is real and specific. You see how they communicate under pressure. You see how they handle credit and how they handle blame. You see how they make people feel in a room. All of that is information. Take notes, mentally if nothing else, and build your own leadership identity in direct opposition to what you're watching. They are showing you exactly the leader you do not want to become. Use it. Number 2, stop making it personal. This is easier said than done, but it is the single most important mental shift you can make when you're dealing with a toxic boss. Because here's the truth. Their behavior almost certainly has nothing to do with you. You could be the most competent, most professional person on that team, and they will still be exactly the same way with you. Because what you're watching is not a response to your performance. It's an expression of something going on inside of them. Think about it. When someone close to you comes home in a terrible mood and snaps at you over something small, you know they're not actually upset about the thing they snapped about. There's something else going on. A toxic boss operates the same way. They're carrying pressure, insecurity, stress, unresolved dynamics with their own leadership, and you happen to be in range when it spills over. Now, I'm not saying you should let them off the hook. I'm not saying any of this is acceptable. What I'm saying is that if you keep absorbing their behavior as though it's a verdict on your value, you're going to internalize a lie. And that lie will follow you long after you've left that job. So here's what I want you to try instead. Get curious. When your boss does something that gets under your skin, instead of asking yourself, why does this keep happening to me? Ask yourself, what is actually driving this person? What is going on in their world that makes this how they operate? Maybe their boss is unrealistic and they're feeling crushed from above. Maybe they're insecure about their own position and they see their team as a threat rather than an asset. Maybe they've just been doing this so long they don't even realize how they come across anymore. Maybe they came up through a system that rewarded exactly this kind of behavior and nobody ever told them there was another way. You're not doing this to make excuses for them. You're doing it to create distance between their behavior and your self-worth. Because the moment you can look at their actions as a symptom of their own issues rather than a reflection of yours, you stop carrying weight that was never yours to carry. Think of it like this. When you're watching a storm roll in, you don't take it personally. You don't stand on the porch thinking the rain has something against you. You acknowledge it's happening, you take steps to protect yourself, and you let the weather be the weather. A toxic boss is the weather. They were raining before you got here, and they'll still be raining after you leave. Your job isn't to fix the weather. Your job is to stop getting soaked. Number 3, neutralize them with consistency. Here's something most people don't intuitively understand about toxic managers. They feed off of reaction. When you get flustered, when you get defensive, when you visibly shut down, It confirms for them that they hold the power in this dynamic. And that confirmation keeps the cycle going. So the most disruptive thing you can do, the thing that throws them off more than any argument or confrontation, is to stay calm and stay consistent. Not performatively, not in a way that's passive-aggressive or dripping with sarcasm. Just genuinely steady, professional, and grounded regardless of what energy they bring into the room. In practice, this might sound like, "I hear your concern. Let me make sure I understand what you need from me." Or, "I appreciate the feedback. I want to make sure I get this right next time." Or, "That's fair. Here's how I'm thinking about it. Can we align before I move forward?" These responses do something very specific. They give your boss nothing to escalate against. They signal competence and emotional maturity, and they protect your reputation with everyone else in the room who's watching how you handle the situation. Because here's what most people miss. Your reaction to a difficult boss is always being observed by others. Your colleagues, your skip level, other leaders in the building. Every time you stay composed under pressure, you are building credibility. Every time you respond with professionalism instead of emotion, you are differentiating yourself. A toxic boss can be a visibility problem that actually works in your favor if you play it right. Now, the reason this feels so hard in the moment is that you can't prepare for what you don't expect. So here's a technique that genuinely works. Before any high-stakes meeting with your boss, spend 5 minutes running the scenario in your head. Think through exactly how they're likely to show up. What will they probably push back on? What might they say that could catch you off guard? Play it out in as much detail as you can. Because when it actually happens, and usually something close to what you imagined does happen, it doesn't land with the same emotional charge. You've already processed it. You've already decided how you're going to respond. And that preparation is the difference between reacting and responding. Let me bring this together. If you have a toxic boss and quitting isn't on the table right now, here's your game plan. 1. Use them as fuel. Let every terrible interaction be a reminder of why you're building something better on the side. And if you're in a leadership role yourself, let them be your anti-model, the clearest possible picture of who you refuse to become. 2. Stop taking it personally. Get curious about what's driving their behavior instead of absorbing it as a judgment on your worth, because it isn't. 3. Neutralize them with consistency. Stay grounded, stay professional, and let your reaction be the thing that builds your reputation even while they're trying to damage it. Now, there's one more piece to this that I haven't covered yet, and it's the one most people avoid because it feels risky. It's about how to actually set a boundary with a difficult boss without blowing up the relationship or putting a target on your back. There's a specific way to deliver that message, and getting it wrong can make things significantly worse. I've broken the whole framework down in a separate video, and I'll link it for you now. Go watch that next. If this was useful, subscribe so you catch everything coming up on this channel. I'll see you in the next one.